In August 2024, I maxed my old school RuneScape account. But we all know that wasn't going to last forever. Hi, Uncreative here, and on November 19th, 2025, I could no longer wear my max cape. And in fact, it had been stripped right off my back when I logged in. The only way I could wear it again was to go forth on the high seas and claim 13 million sailing experience via whatever tomfoolery made the number go up. And the very first step of that process, I had to complete the tutorial quest, Pandemonium. This quest introduced us to the characters Will and Anne, who only vaguely feel like they're recruiting me to be part of an MLM scheme with how little I actually needed to participate in the interview. Honestly, I'm surprised I didn't need to buy their boat for them to track down the treasure from the map that they bought. But regardless, we glide along nicely, get to a small shipwreck where I fish out a lovely bit of salvage before I get pushed off the boat. No! I've been betrayed! And we find ourselves washed ashore in Pandemonium, the scallywaggiest island boat hybrid ever to grace Gillenor's 9 oceans. Not to be confused with the seas, of which there are 77. Flagged down by Squawking Steve Beanie, we find out that not only did Will and Anne throw us overboard after doing all the work for them, but they didn't even buy the map in the first place. They stole it from this guy over here, Ribs, who tells us the terrifying tale of Captain Barnacle Barnaby and the curse of the Crimson Kraken. Only to find out, Ribs bought the map off the sole survivor of the ship, Ulrich the Unfortunate, vowing to keep it safe from would-be treasure seekers and unable to simply destroy it for fear of invoking the wrath of Barnaby. But the worst part of what we learn is that the medallion we just helped acquire has freed the curse once more, and now we will have to stop them. After going back to Steve, we get told that old Grog may be able to help us track down our newfound adversaries, but he isn't currently on the Pandemonium. But more importantly, we need to find our sea legs to have a chance at Will and Anne. So dodging the most precarious hole ever. This floor is not up to code. Someone could fall through that. We head our way to Junior Jim, the shipwright of the Pandemonium, to acquire our very own boat. Well, more of a raft really, it's all they had at the time. And not only is it a tied together clump of logs, we have to do them a favor in order to even earn the right to call it ours, because the giant gem-embedded mug only covered 10 logs, 6 ropes, and some swamp tar. The sails were extra. At least he takes pity on us and lets us build our own cargo hold with his supplies. With the promise to deliver a shipment of supplies from Port Sarum, we touch water in a half-owned boat and a dream. We're sailing, boys. We're on the high seas. Luckily, there's no shenanigans with the shipment. We get our first level in sailing and complete the quest. We get told about charting and to go talk to a bloke named Charles, but we quickly check in with old Grog, who says he'll help us out, but he'll need time. So with nothing more to do, we talk to Charles and learn all we can about sea charting from a man wearing 2 eye patches. Now, something you may or may not know about me, being someone trying to fill a pixelated coloring book, is that when I have a list of things I can do in a game, I'm going to complete it. So not looking at any other training methods, I knew in my heart of hearts that charting was going to be all my early levels in the skill. But I don't like thinking or making up my own paths, so I loaded up the wiki, sorted by most completed, and got to work sailing around finding all the points of interest to chart. It also helped that every charting event gave a nice little jingle that tickled the brain into doing more charting. And it didn't take long before I was ready for the next quest, because honestly, there's so many things to chart that we'd be here all day if I included everything in the video. After a forced reset back to Port Sarum, Please don't kill me. Okay, very lovely. We were able to start the second quest released with sailing, Prying Times. After checking in with Squawking Steve for any updates Old Grog might be able to give us, we get tasked with delivering some high-value cargo from Port Sarum. Oh boy, doesn't this sound familiar. With a simple task assigned and quest points at stake, we make the treacherous journey to Port Sarum and back, as uneventful as the last one. However, upon returning, we are told the crate is locked and needs a special key forged by a master smith in order to open it. Fortunately, we have friends with red berry pie addictions. Having received the master dwarven artifact known as a crowbar, a slight detour to test my presidential level intellect, we make to open the greatest treasure we've ever seen. Only to be stopped and told to drink indeterminately aged swill from a crate floating just off the island as a test for our new skeleton key. Of course I drink it, I'm not a coward. I hallucinate a fight with a troll. Victoriously returning to the pandemonium with a crowbar that's undertaken its maiden voyage, we crack open the original crate, having been promised treasure beyond our wildest dreams. And we are not disappointed, because inside the crate is nothing less than an infinite supply of the dwarven masterwork known as crowbars. Now, of course, the only thing this quest did was fuel my passion for charting the great oceans, and also gave me a drinking problem. Yes. It had arrow tips in it? Oh my. Oh my, I'm coughing up arrow tips? That is not healthy, brother. Finding ourselves with 22 sailing, we make our way to Catherby to start our third quest of the day. Arhine is a local merchant that wishes to chart the currents around Catherby with a duck. Unfortunately, there are bylaws of Catherby that prevent non-humans from performing work in and around Catherby, which, in a world with plenty of intelligent creatures, it could only be Ham whispering in someone's ear to make that law. Regardless, the local councillor upholds the letter of the law to the highest standard and shuts down Arhine's plan promptly. Our job, should we wish to take it, is to convince the councillor to allow the duck to wade in the water and tell us what way it's flowing. She immediately responds to our question of the law being a bit weird by saying that a completely impartial assessment proved the Ham rumors to be false, so case closed on that one, I guess. Unfortunately, after having spent literally hundreds of hours fishing on the beaches of Catherby in my life, the counselor notices my new sailing level and forces me to fill out form CR-4P in order to do any further business in Catherby. At least the new budget approved her to provide free charcoal to me. Due to abnormally high volume of callers, our hold time will be longer than expected, which is fine because I didn't even want to fill the form out to begin with. But we are informed that the mayor has to be the one that changes the bylaws, but we're not told information about the mayor due to privacy rules. So back to Arhine we go, where we learn the mayor died a few days ago, which does put a bit of a sticker in the plan. But, good news, the mayor is actually a fish that gets changed out every time it dies, so Catherine does not become the mayor, because the mayor serves until death. As an adventurer that's never been held accountable for my actions, I would have an alternative plan, but I guess no one would do all the paperwork that needs to get done then. So I get scammed into buying a mayoral fishbowl for 50 coins, which is baffling because I'm helping them. And what happened to the previous bowl of the previous mayor? Seems like it'd be more suspicious if the bowl changes constantly, but here we are. We take the 27th mayor of Catherby to Catherine, who immediately performs a stalling tactic by having us go over all the information we literally just gave her 5 minutes ago, which is accurate to most government organizations. We dunk form 7R4-5H into the bowl of the mayor, who chews it over and does agree that non-humans are allowed to work in Catherby again. The duck splish-splashes along a current. It whispers in our ear what it felt. We have acquired our new best friend on the lonely waters. And we've acquired a new way to chart, which is really what the sailing skill is all about at the end of the day. And that's another quest completed, and we can finally go back to the heart and soul of what sailing is to me, charting the 9 oceans of Gielinor. And charting is what we did. Honestly, I'm not being facetious when I say that getting all the early levels from charting was absolutely my favorite part of the skill. Just sailing around, talking to mermaids who ask me weird questions, having a parasocial relationship with a duck that would just casually lead me to places I wouldn't dare venture with a twisted bow. All the footage you're seeing right now is taken day 2 of the skill release. No plugins, no solves. Heck, I had to add 1 or 2 coordinates to the wiki myself because for the briefest of moments, I was in the top 1% of charters in the game. And some of the things on the wiki that existed at the time sent me wildly off course. But truly, it was a blast exploring. Something that does make me a little sad is with how open the world is with sailing, there's just a couple areas that lose all of their mystique because you can just see everything. Specifically, I remember sailing around Ape Atoll thinking, as a kid, this island was masked in mystery. You had to go through a multi-hour, or to be honest, we were 10 at the time. I'm pretty sure I spent a week or 2 questing to get to this island, reading the guides on Rune HQ, just being incredibly nervous, being locked behind a slider puzzle that I didn't know how to spend the 100k because that was just so much money only to get onto the island and see the monkeys and be like extremely nervous the entire time. Well, now I'm within an hour of creating an account. I could just be looking at King Awogi, the high leader of a reclusive militant society, and I can just point my cannon directly at him. It feels a little weird, to be honest. But, it's talked about sometimes with like scale theory in games. Most specifically in RuneScape, scale theory gets brought up a lot, where if you're not familiar with it, like in the books, in lore, in canon Gielinor, which we are not interacting with, we're interacting with a layer over the world that creates the game. You could fit an entire army between Paterdamus Temple and Canifis, which it's just like 50 tiles away or something in the game. So, and people smarter than me and more eloquent than me have gone over it, much more in depth than that. So, realistically, in the real world of Gielinor, there's, dude's throne room probably is not 10 tiles away from the beach and is able to be seen by every passing ship. But I don't live in canon Gielinor. I live in RuneScape's Gielinor. So it's a little sad. I feel like a lot of the things in the game people just never experience again. But I would like to see kind of like a, I don't know the technical feasibility of it, but possibly giving Ape Atoll the Prifddinas treatment, where if you're not on the island or inside Prifddinas, in the example that I'm giving, it just looks like blurred terrain or just like a forest or whatever. I feel like just maybe, we can still keep the island mysterious for players that have not done the Monkey Madness quest. I feel like that would be pretty nice. But enough complaining. Sometime during that, we gained level 38. And what does level 38 get us? Well, there's some mermaids that have been floating around the waters, and they have riddles. And their riddles are crazy. Like, take this one, for instance. Agree after daddy offers a fruit. I'll pause for a second. Let me think of the solution to that. Is papaya, or I suppose it's papaya. And a fair few of them were straightforward: how to make a Slayer helm, how to make a potion, basic knowledge stuff that makes sense. A few anagrams that, you know, always sneak their way in. But then you have riddles like this one, which even after reading the wiki explanation for it, I'm still not completely sure on. Container follows spreading, then comparing two rods stored what you catch. It's butterfly jar, but like, well, I mean, first of all, comparing two rods, I immediately went to innuendo. Or also like in higher tier clues, you can see like the little like scroll rod things in the side. You know, comparing two rods is like looking at a clue scroll or something, that it's an impling jar. Nowhere in my mind did I think comparing two rods, they're talking about fly fishing. Please, can someone tell me if I'm crazy here? That riddle was the worst riddle out of all of the mermaid riddles. And, you know, I did try to solve all of the riddles, but if it took more than 2 or 3 minutes for me to solve on my own, then I just looked up the solution on the wiki. It was great. Everyone was happy. Which, you know, just being able to look up something on the wiki within a day of something's release and have like these obscure riddles be solved, and the ability to look them up, fantastic work. I love our wiki team. But we're level 45 sailing now, and it's time for the final quest released with the sailing skill, the Troubled Tortugan, in which we find an injured turtle or Tortugan on an island. And other than the tutorial quest, this is the only quest release that gives us a true storyline instead of just being a charting tutorial. We help the Tortugan bandage up their limb and learn their name is Flupa, but clearly they don't want our help. They're only begrudgingly accepting it instead of dying. We sail back to her home island, the Great Conch. Let me take you home where you clearly have some sort of trauma regarding it, but we'll get that sorted. I've been known to help families and tribes and cultures repair themselves, I think. Have I? I definitely destroyed some. Have I repaired any? Ooh. We learn some of the customs of these turtles, like they don't want any humans on their island, which is a bit odd since 2 feet away from this conversation is a charter ship, which presumably would be primarily humans that travel on those, but maybe it's purely transactional trading, with the 1 or 2 Tortugans we see elsewhere being particularly adventurous spirits that catch a ride back with them. Though we do manage to sweet talk Elder Coral, and are granted a tourist visa to make sure that Flupa is on the mend, and there's no further shenanigans afoot. We are told an interesting bit of lore called the Trial of Water, which is how we can become an honorary Tortugan, so that's pretty interesting. Overwhelmed with concern, we walk up to Elder Raleigh's house to check on our new best friend that will likely have the "this is it" speech during the finale of this questline. Seeing Flupa's stable and taking her medicine, we hear about a griffin attack that recently occurred in the village, causing havoc and damaging the market. Having nothing better to do than sit next to Flupa like a concerned but powerless family member, while the trained medical professional patches her up, we offer to lend a hand to repairs. Collecting several bits of local resources to build with, we put our construction skills to the test by repairing walls of houses and market stalls. Returning to Raleigh, we get a good therapy session in for Flupa about value to society with a disability, and we are asked to track down the griffin that attacked the village as it is simply too aggressive and will surely return if we do not finish it off now. With expert tracking skills, we navigate the jungle of the island and come across an unassuming cave, barge in, and slaughter the animal with a few well-placed shots. Not missing a beat, we take in the sights before returning to the elders of the village. Turns out, perhaps we should have rushed a little more. There's an attack occurring at the egg-laying island of the Tortugans, the Little Pearl, something that has never happened before. But we are urged to set sail to the southeast and protect the unborn children of this tribe. Claiming emergency needs, we are gifted a shell shield to wear across our back to protect against the griffin and gear up to fight a battle. On arrival to the island, we see an ominous red-sailed ship quickly departing from the area of the island, which, given how easy the griffin was to kill, is probably the most interesting thing about the journey. Interesting enough to talk to Flupa and Elder Raleigh about it, which had Flupa muttering into the horizon about her previous captain and crew. I suspect we will be hearing more about these red sails. And, you know, the winners have been showcasing the red sails helps that suspicion too a little bit, but I mean, whatever. Quest completed, and honestly, I'm extremely excited to see this trilogy of quests play out. You'll never guess what I did after the quest. That's right, there's still more charting to do. The never-ending checklist keeps going, and I am still loving it. The wind in the sails, the salt on the lips, no responsibilities other than being a water tourist. We set off into the oceans once more. I carry on all the way to level 53, where for the first time ever, I'm locked out of charting because everything else I had to do was too high level for me to accomplish, and now I'm stuck at the crossroads, salvaging or trials to get from level 53 to 57. And it might seem like an obvious choice, given that trials are the fastest XP in their given level ranges, but something that I needed more than experience, because this series is called Clogged Up, not XP Go Up, is collection logs. And up until this point, I'd only gotten a couple from the clam as I was exploring, but if I had any hope of getting all of the salvaging collection logs before 99, I had to do some salvaging. And more importantly than just the rare 1 in 3,000 drop from the respective shipwrecks was the Sailor's Amulet, because teleports are the most important account unlocks you can get in RuneScape. So I chucked a salvaging hook onto my skiff because I didn't want to buy a sloop yet, and I got to work on the small shipwrecks, going for the Rusty Locket and the Sailor's Amulet. And lo and behold, I got extremely lucky. In less than 2 hours, I got the Sailor's Amulet. Hey, there it is, the Sailor's Amulet. And less than 2 hours after that, hey, that's the Rusty Locket. I'm pretty sure I got very lucky on that. At which point, I had reached level 55 and was able to complete the Jubbly Jive. Now, I just said that I wasn't going to chase the experience, but what the Jubbly Jive gives you is a captured wind mote that makes just sailing around the world so much faster. So, hopped onto my skiff, sailed over to Temper Tantrum to get a little practice in, nailed the first 2 ranks my very first try, and sailed on over to the Jubbly Jive for quite possibly the worst experience in RuneScape I've ever had, because that area, on release, it's a little bit better now, was the laggiest area in the entire game ever that I've ever experienced. Look at this. Normal. Everything's pretty good. Turn around. Oh my, oh, okay, it's normal. But this place is terrible. It's like these bubbles or something. I ended up having to make my game look like this, desperately trying to fix the lag. It didn't really work, and I ended up reverting later, but after much screaming and crying, I ended up getting shark rank for the captured wind mote. Come on. Oh my, finally. 59 sailing. I can build an adamant salvaging hook now, and I have a captured wind mote, which is very nice. And then immediately left because I had more charting to do. And we were there for so long that we are very far past the level 57 requirement to do the final charting activity, where we learn that the wind in Gielinor just does little donuts around islands or something. So yeah, that's interesting. So grabbing a little instrument reader thingy that meteorologist acquired from her first meal, I traveled to where wind didn't exist, and to be honest, I did not like these. The area in which you successfully map out where the wind is the weakest, it feels like it's a 2x2 tile block. Like, you can easily miss it even being in the right spot. And that, coupled with literally one of the first ones I did, required you to literally drive into the jagged reef around Crandor and sustain boat damage while you're trying to find this little tiny 2x2 area. Honestly, I thought I was crazy the first time because I was trying to do it without the wiki guide, and I sailed around in a circle, tried to get it, it didn't work, and then like I tried it again in order to get it to work. It was terrible. Don't make me damage my boat to do a charting activity in an area that I'm clearly not supposed to be in. That's terrible. Anyway, as the highest level charting activity that wasn't just special waters that you needed boat upgrades for, I was left fairly disappointed in weather charting. It just was the antithesis of fun. But I only had to do it like 20 times and then we were finished. And then we were ready to conquer the next bit of the skill. And given that I didn't have any more trials to do other than Marlin rank, which I'm not touching that one yet, I went salvaging. I had a couple more 1 in 3,000 drops to get, and I got 4 of them in less than 5 levels. I got incredibly lucky. I'm pretty sure the dull knife from Barracuda salvaging, I got within 100 salvage. I got there, I set up, I went to like make myself a tea, and I came back, and when I was sorting through the salvage that Captain Siad and Captain Boy Jenkins had pulled up in that time, it was in there, and I was finished. Dull knife, easy collection log. If you don't have it, just go get it. Anyway, after all the salvaging was completed, I had a new adamant keel. I could go into the crystal flecked waters, so I charted those really quick. And I'd been seeing a lot of people getting the shark paint really early on in the skill, so I figured that was a really easy collection log to get. So I went to do port tasks to get a very fast shark paint, but not before playing the game the way it was meant to be played and Ubering a clanmate to their abandoned boat on an island. And honestly, if you take the shark paint and put it side by side with the other tradable paints in the game, those being Barracuda, Angler, Salvor, and Inky, shark paint is incredibly common in comparison. And that coupled with port tasks having no other real standalone rewards other than being the fastest pet rate, there's very little reason to do them, which sucks because out of all the training methods, I think I would like to do port tasks the most because they feel the most well integrated into the world. Sitting still at a random shipwreck or sailing around an obstacle course just doesn't feel as good as what a well-designed port task system could feel like. But in its current state, I did maybe 20 deliveries until I got the paint and then never touched it again for the rest of my 99. Hey, there's the shark paint. But with no shipwrecks to salvage and no desire to outfit a boat for trawling or combat, I boated my way boatingly once more to the Jubbly Jive. Unfortunately, still very laggy. And honestly, the Marlin version of the trial was easier than the shark one, so we got the fabric roll after only a couple of attempts. And we stayed here a little bit longer because at this point, the only collection log slots I could go for would have me purchasing and outfitting a new boat, and I didn't want to do that. So I just got 72 sailing, which I forced a castaway to watch me get. All right, castaway, it's time. You're about to see what the Jubbly course can do to the soul, to the mind. I'm sure they appreciated that. And at 72, we unlock our next charting adventure, the Adamant Helm, which gets us into the tangled kelp waters where we can do everything we've already done before, just now in new waters. Woo. Also at 72 was a double feature. We unlocked the Gwyneth Glide, possibly the most notorious trial, since once people got to 72, they did Gwyneth Glide to 99 and all the way to 200 mil. And that's because for just pure XP per hour, there is nothing in the sailing skill that comes even close to the XP rates that the Gwyneth Glide offers at about 240k an hour once you get good at it. Now, I did stay there for quite a while because the Marlin rank took a really long time for me. As I said, when I was doing these, the solves weren't actually fully developed yet. So I was using one of the first iterations of the wiki tile pack, and eventually, after I just constantly got within a few seconds of Marlin rank, I downloaded the tile pack off of RuneLite and got it on my second try. But while I struggled a lot with the Marlin rank, it even took a while to get the Shark rank. Similar to Jubbly Jive, it took me a few hours. But, well, it's also the second reason why Gwyneth Glide is notorious. And what is it, you may ask? Well, from the Shark rank, you get the Heart of Ithil. Hey, there it is, Heart of Ithil, 35k XP drop. You love to see it. Which is the main component to make the crystal extractor. I got it just a little while before the nerf, so I wasn't really able to abuse it to its fullest, but on release, this little guy would give you 600 experience at a time just for clicking on it. And it only had a minute cooldown. With some back of the napkin math, this gave every single activity in sailing about 34,000 XP per hour, just from doing a quick little lap around Gwyneth. It's okay though, Jagex took all of the complaints about being required to click once a minute, and still made you click once a minute, but only for 200 XP. Good job. And this really started the beginning of the end of the skill for me. I would recline with some salvaging while catching up on other RuneScape content creators. Then I would hit the Gwyneth Glide to try and get the Marlin rank. At some point during that, I got 78 sailing. And what did I do at 78 sailing? Well, I slapped a torch on my boat and finally finished charting. All of that work throughout all of this episode has finally paid off, because in the Northern Ocean's freezing waters was the vast majority of the 700,000 experience that comes from charting. All the interesting bits of the skill are over with. I got the Marlin time at Gwyneth Glide. The only really significant mention is that I went 5 times rate at Fremennik shipwrecks. I had to get 15,000 salvage in order to get the Smash Tamir before I could make my way to the Opulent salvage. You could say me and Cabin Boy Jenkins are pretty close now. And at this point, I'm in the 90s. I'm fully expecting to stay at Opulent Salvage until 99, just due to the Dragon Cannon Barrel's rareness. The Moldy Doll's 1 in 3,000 pales in comparison to it, because the Dragon Cannon Barrel is a 1 in 20,000 rate. So what I would do is I would just AFK until I leveled up, and then I would start the next level by sorting through all the salvage that I'd acquired from the last level, which was usually like 4 or 5,000 salvage, so I'd start the next level with 300,000 or 400,000 XP already underway. But when I leveled up to 97, I stayed to fill up my cargo hold to take to the bank, and what I was doing is the stuff that was in my inventory, I would just start sorting through it when something hilarious happened. Oh boys, there it is, the Dragon Cannon Barrel. And not only that, but I still had a few thousand salvage to go through when I got back to land, which created the perfect opportunity for something even funnier to happen. That is a second Dragon Cannon Barrel. It's incredible. That's right, I got 2 cannon barrels in 15,000 salvage. An interesting number, since that's how much Fremennik salvage I had to sort through just to get the smashed mirror. Sometimes the RNG just works out in your favor. But unfortunately, that means that now the only salvaging collection log I have left is the Angler's Paint at Mercenary Shipwrecks. Being a 1 in 24,000 drop rate though, there simply wasn't enough experience left to reach the drop rate of the paint. It was a stretch goal to begin with, but here we have it. Level 99 sailing, the ability to wear my max cape again. And after 2 months of being on the water, I'm not going to be going for post 99 collection logs for a little while, but trust me, I'll be back eventually. I'd like to thank everyone that's stuck around this far in the video. Those that have watched some of my previous videos may have noted that I've gone with a slightly different style in this one. Let me know if you liked it or not. And I didn't want to waste time in the middle of the video to say all the YouTuber stuff, but this year I am hoping to reach 500 200 subscribers by the end of the year. So please subscribe if you haven't. And if you already have, I appreciate you immensely. And if you don't mind dropping a comment and a like, you can still help my videos in the algorithm get to new people. At least I think so. I don't have any actual channel data to back up that statement, but stick around. I have high hopes for this year. I'm sure real life is going to get in the way, but what I want to do is I want to achieve the rune tier of the collection log, and I want to get 200 mil smithing XP in 2026. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.